This episode is brought to you by Swish Personalised Video. Give the Dons fan in your life the best gift ever. Jesse, I imagine there'd be someone on there that you'd absolutely love to see. Who would it be?
James.
Yeah.
Please give it to me.
I don't think he's on there, I'm sorry to say. But what about an Isaac Kako video? I reckon that'd do pretty well.
Yeah. Maybe. Is there a Henry Slattery on there?
No Hank. No Hank, unfortunately. No Hank. No Kepler Bradley or Scott Gumbleton. No. But there's a Nate Caddy, Joel.
Oh, yeah. Lovely. I might get that for Mags for her birthday, but just accidentally write my own name in the script. And, like when Homer gets Marge the bowling ball called Homer.
Love
just do one of those.
Love it. If you use the code the Sash, you can get 10% off all purchases on Swish. You can find the link in our episode description as well as on our social media pages. Thanks to Swish for sponsoring the show. The Dons get jumped as a clinical Hawthorn proves a cut above. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I am your host, Rob, here with you, as always, for the Monday review show. And joining me in studio is Jesse. Hello, mate.
Hey, we're back. Back consuming L's.
That's it, baby.
Welcome back.
Familiar feelings.
Yeah, very familiar, but nonetheless, good to have our group therapy session. Thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure. And joining us in studio for the first time is Joel. Hello, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I last pod I did was from home, and my computer was really shutting down. So I actually went and got a new one. So from now on, all the streams will be fantastic when they happen. Rob, don't worry about that.
Great. Could you do the pod on like a 5-second lag just to keep that theatre going?
No worries.
That's it.
That's a YouTube gag for anyone watching.
Yeah. They'll love that. Fellas, look, it is a familiar feeling, getting back to footy and having a nice big loss. Quarter time, that feeling at quarter time, I've just been like, we're back. Don's footy, baby.
Geelong vibes.
It was Geelong vibes.
Big time Geelong vibes.
Yeah, it was... It was pretty grim. How you were watching it from home, Joel? How were you feeling quarter time?
At that stage, I was really glad that I had decided to watch it from home. I always was worried that we were going to get jumped. I think the game that they played last week, that is a really big advantage because, a full season game of AFL makes a really big difference. But yeah, just the first 5 minutes, it was really, okay, we're on here, we're laying pressure. And then they went up a gear and like a lot of instances last year, when we needed to find another gear, we couldn't. We balanced it out after a while, but yeah, quarter time was pretty grim, and I made Maggie promise to watch it with me because she kind of tunes out after a while. I was like, it's the first game of the season, we've got some new players, can you just watch it with me so I've got someone to, talk to about it? And then I was like, you can leave at quarter time. I was like, it's okay. You don't need to hear anything from me.
Yeah. Wise. Very wise. Jess, you were there. How were you feeling quarter time?
Well, aside from having a headache and a nosebleed from being literally my head touching the top of the MCG in the members section, I was pretty quick to find myself down in the David Neats on the 4th level in the MCC and didn't actually remove myself from there for the rest of the night. I was watching the game on the TV. Never have done that, and I will say it actually did make it a little bit more enjoyable. I certainly... frustrated. I was not as frustrating to the people around me as I usually would be. But, I mean, look, we know where we are, and I think to expect significant change, given the list hasn't changed a whole lot, is what my conclusion of that game is. And, we brought a lot of effort. We didn't execute. We still couldn't defend transition, albeit the Hawks' ball movement was genuinely elite in a lot of ways. But it's just another year of Dons, and I think you've just got to look for the little things. And, the excitement, Kako kicking his first goal, I mean, that brought the absolute house down. Yeah. And that was worth watching 6 unanswered goals afterward.
Yeah. By the sixth goal, I'd kind of forgotten that we kicked one. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Should we have a complete overreaction and then like try and actually like analyze this game, or do you guys just want to get stuck into it?
No, I mean, I think we need to overreact. It does what's required for our listeners. People come to this show for an overreaction. And I'll let you take the piece, please.
Okay. This is my complete overreaction. We're shit. We're no good. We won't win any fucking games. The season's done. That's my overreaction. Joel, have you got an overreaction?
Same again. I'm glad I cancelled my membership with this club. It's going nowhere.
Nice.
Jesse, your overreaction?
Well, I'm overreacting to whatever Joel's just put in his head there because looks like what membership year is that? Is that 24?
Yeah.
24. Yeah. Just before the cancel.
Yeah. And I'd cancel if that's what they produce
That's
as a
why
beanie.
it was based on the merch.
It's an awful beanie. Whoever's got the 2024 Don's beanie, put that in the bin. Look, I mean, Draper's in the bin for me. Put him straight in.
Is that your overreaction?
That's my overreaction. Honestly, take a mark, Draper. It's not that hard. Jesus Christ.
He wasn't
And I will say, wet weather Don's footy, we've made dry conditions look the most wet you've ever seen it in your life. Please put some long stops on, as they say, fellas, and just get the gist that you can't turn on at a right angle. Because didn't see many Hawthorn players falling over.
Yeah. Hey, baby, are you a Dons fan? Because I can make the dry wet. Don't worry about it.
I like it.
That was gross. Let's actually look at it properly. The one thing I'm happy about, having watched a whole weekend of footy, I was a bit unwell yesterday / hungover, and I've watched a lot of footy this weekend. It's not just the Dons, and not being one of the 4 teams who got absolutely pumped, not being one of those sides, and having been competitive for the rest of the game and had a crack to try and bring it back, we outscored them by 1 point for the remaining 3 quarters. That's something that does please me. For all our deficiencies everywhere else, is that we're up for the fight. We were still tough at it, but simply our skills and execution were what let us down. So I'm okay with that, knowing that there is a lot of people today who go for St Kilda or Freo or Port, or who were the other team that got flogged? Forgetting someone.
Well, I mean, we can't also forget Carlton. That was a flogging based on the result.
Yeah, Carlton.
Anyway.
Oh, there's a 4th. No, someone else got absolutely pumped. West Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast. So I'm happy knowing that I'm not feeling the way they are, but I'm also very real about where things are at, because just the comparison of some of Hawthorn's better players and better plays throughout the night compared to some of the things that we were trying to do, it was just like, gee, we're a bit off it, There's a lot of room for growth, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I didn't expect to win, and so I've definitely come away from losses in the past feeling a lot worse than I did this one. There are definitely some warning signs. Like there was a number of games last year where we won the inside 50 count and lost, or had more scoring shots and lost. So, that's a real concern, that efficiency and composure going forward. But, what can we expect of a first gamer, a 19-year-old shouldering the load for half a game once Langford went down? I think, to see a lot of fight and effort continuously, to see, Caddy, even when he was kind of on one leg, taking contested marks and jumping for it, there was a lot of contest. And that was a weakness that we've been speaking about for years on this pod, the fact that we aren't tough enough, or that we don't kind of go in hard. So to win the contested footy like we did and have that effort, to me, actually, that's a good indication that Brad Scott's got buy-in and that they're trying to do the right thing.
Agree.
But yeah, composure, and decision making sometimes, obviously, it is a real concern.
Big time.
Frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating when you see another team able to open up the game so easily compared to us, and I think that can be a range of things, whether it be coaching, just ability to deal with pressure, and honestly, I think it's just some of the cattle out there.
Yeah, definitely.
If I'll launch into my first bad, and it's just like a general issue, but our backline is all at sea. It's a bit of a ragtag bunch down there. Like, poor Reedy. I felt really sorry for Reedy. He looked like a guy who hasn't played a full match in the AFL since 2022, and that's the case. He built into the game, but there was a few moments there in that first half where he just kind of felt like he was at a Don's training drill and thought he had a paddock of space. Benny Mackay looked like someone who hasn't done a pre-season. Ridley got concussed, which is another concern that we have to deal with. And then the Shield-McGrath combo is such a worry for me. Yeah. Like I know it's only one game. We obviously know a lot about Benny McGrath in the backline, but this is the first AFL game for Shield in that position. But I just don't see there being a long-term future for this, because you look at any great team, a premiership team, they've all got these guys off the half back line who are surgeons. They are calm, they're cool, and they can hit these incredible passes. I don't think there's a single guy on our list who can play like that. Maybe you could argue if we put Zach Merritt there, he could, but I think we need him elsewhere. There's just no one who can play like that. And you watch a team like Hawthorn who have several good users in their backline, and we've just got...
It's the difference.
We've just got chaos. We've got absolute chaos. And you don't want chaos in your backline. You want chaos in the forward line. You want guys who can cause a ruckus up there, but instead we've got these guys who just can't bite off sound kicks under pressure, and then when they're not under pressure, they're still missing targets as well. So it's a worry.
It is definitely a worry. And, I mean, we'll go back to selection. That's my big bad for the day. And, I mean, going in with Reid, Ridley, and Mackay, I don't really understand it. I mean, my thoughts are that's the first opportunity they've really had to play those three together. And if they're building toward the future, you can understand. But in a game where Hawthorn's known for its mosquito fleet and the damage they can do, it just didn't make sense. I mean, they talk about, particularly Scott talks of horses for courses, and I just don't really understand that selection. I mean, Mackay, as you said, has been underdone, and he looked like it. I mean, he registered his first disposal at the beginning of the third quarter.
Yeah.
His first disposal, and he had his first intercept mark at the end of the second quarter. He had zero to little impact whatsoever throughout the entire game. Obviously, Ridley getting concussed, in a sense, it actually helped us because it brought some speed into the game, and I think Gresham made a really big impact.
Yeah, okay.
That speed in the half forward is something that we lacked, and it's a big reason why, again, the same issues are occurring at Essendon, and that is not enough pressure from our half forwards to allow for that, to not allow for that transition to occur.
Yeah.
There was some good pressure at times, and I will say that, you know, players like Sicily in that first quarter was caught 2 or 3 times, and he had one arm pinned, and he did a full 360 spin and like did this small little dinky kick with so much composure to a different player. If that's anyone else in the AFL, that's a turnover.
Yep.
There were a number of instances, I mean, where you look at their kicking efficiency at the end of the first quarter, it was above 85%.
Yeah.
And there was only one player, and that was Newcombe, that had under 75% by foot. Like every single player in that team was kicking the ball, but this is my drive with Essendon, is it comes back down to recruitment. We know how much we've botched it over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Mackay's a good example already. Hawthorn went hard at him. We ended up getting him. Now they've got Barras. I mean, you compare Barras, or compare both, Barras and Battle, or you take Mackay out of the two. Now, you can't look too much at this, but the reality is Hawthorn's recruited good kickers and players that have a high IQ who are quick, that aren't necessarily too tall. I mean, you look at their team, they don't really have that many players over 195 centimetres. There'd be a few, maybe Barras,
it's the key position
Chol,
players, yeah.
But the rest of them are that sort of in between 5'11", 6'3" type. They're all, I mean, around the ground, their spread and their kicking was insane. And I understand that transition is an issue, and a lot of people will still say it is an issue because of the amount of goals that we conceded. But at times, you just look at the way they move the ball, and there's just nothing that you can do with kicks like that. This was Zach Merritt kick to Zach Merritt kick to Zach Merritt kick, kicking to the advantage of all of their forwards. And I think the reason it's so frustrating for us is because that's exactly what we lack. We lack the composure to kick and hit targets outside of our defensive 50, and our transition we made look really difficult over the weekend. We made it look painful at times, how hard. And you got to attribute some of that to how well Hawthorn defends the ground. Like, they set up the ground really, really well. But the amount of times, you know, like an example I'll give, I wrote this down in my notes, was at the beginning, the beginning of the second quarter. So Hawthorn kicks the first goal. So 7 unanswered goals, right? Essendon win the centre clearance, and so Hawthorn wins the centre clearance, and Newcombe hand passes it to Harry Morrison. Harry Morrison gets the ball and is tackled by Dersma, holding the ball. Great work from Dersma. Harry Morrison kicks the ball on the ground, should have been 50. It rolls 20 metres. It's now a slow play. Dersma gets the ball, and he looks around, and all of our forwards and all of their defenders are set up. And he kicks the ball, and all of our players spread out into all different areas of the 50, and all of the Hawthorn defenders stay, and he just kicks it right into the middle of all of them.
Yeah.
Now, these are just small little things, and I understand people look at Dersma's game and they go, he did so well defensively. He kicked 2 goals. He butchered the ball, just like a number of other players. And that skill execution is the difference between us being where we want to be. And my concern, as you said before, Rob, is I don't think you can actually teach players to be better kicks.
Yeah, I think some people have got it, some people don't. I mean, there might be small improvements you can make. And look, there are plenty of players in history of footy who've had that, but I think there are some people who are just naturally gifted at that. Before I let you speak, Joel, I'll just add on my backline problem. I thought Jackson Pryor also had a stinker.
Terrible.
As well.
Caught out of position regularly.
Oh, the mark where he got beaten by Ginnivan, and I was expecting more from you there. Like
it was kicked to his advantage, and it was a quick transition. But there were 2 inexcusable instances where earlier on he was on the whiz and just completely lost the whiz. There was the instance where the whiz kicked the goal from the boundary in the first quarter, and he was completely by himself. And Jackson Pryor's guarding zone at the top of the square.
Yeah.
I mean, go to your man. I don't understand. And he looked at all at sea when it came to understanding the defensive zoning. Obviously, that instance on the wing with Newcombe, just clear out Newcombe. Like, how often did Newcombe break tackles? I'd be thinking, that's me or someone in the team. You're pile driving him, even if it means you potentially get a week. The amount of statements that Hawthorn made against us over the weekend in this rivalry match, we were tough at the contest, but there was just little things that, you know, and I think I'm probably nitpicking because that's the one area of the game that we did win, but I was annoyed that he didn't just lay out Newcombe in that instance. He's young, I get it, but yeah, it's pretty disappointing to think that we're excited about this backline and doesn't look like anyone stood up. Like, I'm thinking, get Laverde back, like ASAP. We need someone that can compete.
On the performance of the weekend, I'd happily play Laverde over Pryor. I guess again, before I go to you, Joel, I know you're just sitting there listening to us rant. Like,
that's what we're here for.
You look at
well said.
You know, you look at the Hawthorn backline, and obviously there's 2 new guys in that team. And already they look so sound. They look so together. You know, obviously it's very different. We got 2 incredibly experienced guys, Barras and Battle, coming in, and they look like they've been playing together for ages. Whereas us, obviously, Reed is almost a brand new player. Pryor's a new player. You know, Mackay's been there for a season. Shields playing there down there now for the first time, and the cohesion just wasn't there. Wasn't there. I'll let you speak.
And that's like, I mean, if I'm going to follow on from that thread, then surely McGrath as vice captain needs to be like a big voice in kind of enhancing that cohesion. But like, if he's, you know, turning the ball over constantly, and you're looking at him for support, or looking at him to stand up, and then he's kind of making decisions and having these terrible kicks, and he's just blasting out of defense and kicking out of nowhere. Like, you kind of lose a little bit of faith in that as well. And you kind of then go into your own shell and you're just worrying about your own game as opposed to worrying about the team game. And, you know, it's, I thought I kind of thought there was times potentially where Shield and McGrath maybe made the right decision, but then just couldn't execute it. Like they tried to open the ground up, or they tried to hit a kick that would open up, but they missed it by so much that like the punishment the other way was so bad. Another contest that really stood out to me from a negative perspective was when Ginnivan kicked his second goal and Ridley kind of went to go impact the contest, and he kind of threw this like little fist and got nowhere near the ball and didn't take anybody or anything, but he still went with the contest enough so that Ginnivan could just collect the ball and like run into an open goal. And like if you're leaving someone, particularly a small forward, you've got to jump at that footy and you've got to get the ball out of there. And like there was a lot of those still kind of timid.
Well, how many contested marks did they take in the forward line? And there was nobody whatsoever. And that's where Mackay, it's disappointing. Like you're the biggest guy. And what are we paying you for? You know, you're over 200 centimeters. You're close to 100 kilos.
Yeah, 16 marks inside 50 to 6. It took a long time for them to move Mackay onto Chol at times. And look, there's part of me that I do like. You know, with looking in long term, they go, all right, Zach, this is your job for the day. He got beaten countless times by Chol, but I like that. You know, that's part of it. The other big omission from the backline was Mason Redmond because he was playing in the midfield for half the game. And
bizarre.
I just don't feel like there was.
Why are you tagging Connor Nash? I don't understand.
Well, I think he was going to Newcombe at the start.
And like a Will Day job.
And then it was kind of a bit of, he was going to Will Day at times, Durham was going to Will Day at times. I mean, Nash is just a monster, so he's very hard to sort of deal with. But I don't know, I was looking at the way the backline was playing and how things were going in the midfield, and I was like, you know, if you had your time again, I think you wouldn't play Pryor. You'd play Redmond there. Gresham would start. Someone else, Hobbs or someone would get more midfield minutes, and then you bring in someone else as the sub because it just didn't seem like the balance was just right.
It's just
look, if Redmond's not playing backline this weekend, obviously with Ridley out, like I'll be baffled. But
it's just the same. I feel like we're just going a bit insane here as supporters because we just keep seeing the same thing happen over and over again. I mean, the key takeaways are a lack of execution, not defending, defense being a shambles, and playing players out of their position. And I just, how much more evidence do we? I can understand that you want to trial players in different positions, but clearly we needed someone of Mason Redmond's size to play in defence. He was the perfect general defender to play in that position. And
took too long
I'm sure there was plenty of other players that we could have had, like put an Archie Perkins in that role. I mean, the fact that we had Archie Perkins playing a shutdown role and James Sicily for the first half absolutely baffles me as well. He had near to 4 to 5 touches and they took him off, and he was the highest rated player on the ground, not only for the entire game based on his second half performance, but, you know, he had 19, 20 disposals, a goal assist. I mean, that's a good for me is Arch. I think just on a slight positive is Archie struggled to pull himself out of ruts. He's been doing a lot of work with the psychologists at the club to get himself out of that mental hole that he gets into within games, and to be able to have 19 touches in the second half, you know, a few clearances, a couple goals, a goal and an assist.
It was a really good second half.
Is massive. But again, the point being though, the selection was very questionable.
Yeah. Well, I think for all the inquisition that we're doing right now, you know, it's they scored 4 goals from centre bounce within 10 seconds, let's say, 10 or 15 seconds, and 2 goals from kick-ins within 15 or 20. And that's the margin right there.
And not to mention a few free kicks that shouldn't have been paid.
Absolutely. Like there was some shocking ones.
The Draper and Will Day ones on that got me the most. Like at the time, I was quite upset about the McGrath one, but then post game, having seen like what the actual rules are, because people post online being like, "No, this is correct." I looked at them like, "No, like fair, like that was the right decision." What's annoying is that decision hasn't been paid for several years.
It's the consistency.
I can think of so many games I've watched where that just happens. There's someone like 5 meters away just kind of going like this. They've had a bit of time. They're just going, "Oh, whatever, I'll just rush it," and we just play on.
Yeah.
But I guess like at the time I was filthy about it, but then looking back, I'm like, okay, technically yes, that's the right call. But yeah, the Will Day Draper one really annoyed me, and then it was just so like, you know, things not going your way. It's like every time we slipped over, it was holding the ball. Every
Yeah.
time they slipped over, we got them high.
Yeah,
And it was just like, this is not going our way at the moment.
for sure. I think Scott, coming back to like the goals from centre bounce and
Yeah.
transition, like that's also something that happened to us a lot last year, where we work so hard for a
Yeah.
goal and we do lock it inside forward 50. We get repeat entries and it's scrappy, but we fight out a win. And you're like, okay, we've just wrestled back some momentum, and then it goes,
And then we lose it
and
immediately.
lose it immediately, and that's so deflating.
Yeah.
And Scott, talked about it in his presser. He's like, we trained for this, we planned for this, we knew they would be good at it, but we still couldn't execute it. And so, is that, how do we address that? Is that something where like maybe a Setterfield in the team could help with something like that in terms of being there to slow it down in the middle when we really need to slow it down?
Well, he didn't play the VFL, which means that he was unavailable
Yeah,
for
yeah.
selection because
Because he wasn't an emergency, was he? So
no,
well
and he
Yeah.
didn't play VFL practice match. So you'd say
Yeah.
again,
Just
something's
not available.
occurred
Yeah, yeah.
with him.
It's probably that knee.
But that is frustrating. It really is.
Very frustrating.
And it's very. Think about how many games we've actually had a run on recently. I remember the Freo game. We had a bit of a run on. Nice to see a little hat change there. Prefer that one as well. But we don't really make the most of our momentum ever,
yeah.
really. And that's the difference between. I mean, think about the games where we have versed anyone and we've got a 5-6 goal run on. It's very difficult to lose those games.
Very,
and
yeah.
you saw what happened with the Hawks. And that reminds me of games where we have had run-ons in the past where you do it early in the piece and then the rest of the game is a bit of a scrap, but you've always got that 2-3 goal buffer.
Oh, yeah.
And we end up winning by that 20-25 margin. It's the way the Hawks won was like very Essendon style win if we were to win in that style. But it doesn't happen as regularly as I would like.
It's hard to come by. But yeah, it just shows how like you can win the ball at stoppages around the ground as much as you want, but a good centre clearance is worth 10 times a clearance anywhere else on the ground. Like it's just the way their game is, it is so important. Before we get into some goods, I guess this could segue into some goods. This is a bad and a good at the same time. The bad is that this player, in my opinion, gave the best kick inside 50 for the game. Is I think a bit of an indictment on the rest of the team, but it's a good for him because I really like him. The best kick inside 50 the whole game was when Nick Bryan hit Archie Perkins'
how
lead.
good was that?
That was the best kick anyone did inside 50
And it was
all day
actually
for Essendon.
simple.
For Essendon.
It wasn't even like a difficult
No,
kick.
it wasn't. And look, mate, like,
But that's how difficult
That's the whole
we make
thing,
it
though,
look.
making it simple. Yeah,
make it look simple.
Should be
And look,
simple.
it might be one of those things where, the Hawks players are out of position or tired or whatever, but for a game where we were just crying out for some good delivery, there was a moment where a fucking ruckman just had it and went bang and dobbed it to someone's advantage because the amount of times we kicked it over people's heads or kicked it too short or just kicked it high up so someone could chop it off, it was just like, great, we've done it. But by that point, the game was much closer to being done. We've done it. We've done it. We hit a target for it. We're on. We're on.
Play him at half forward.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I actually thought Nick Bryan played okay, to be
Yeah.
honest, when he wasn't tapping it to Hawthorn players. But, other than that, I thought he did all right. Quickly before we do some goods. So, Jordan Ridley, concussion.
Yep.
Kyle Langford, a hammy, 4 to 6 weeks. So, let's just say 6. Congratulations, Tom Edwards, on your debut this
Yes.
weekend.
Get him in. I'm actually keen for this. It's the
Yeah,
first thing I posted in our thread.
Yeah.
I said, well, when one door closes, another one
Another
opens.
opens,
And
yeah.
I tell you what, 8 goals in your first 4 quarters of Essendon football.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, he played 4 quarters in the VFL as well and kicked 4. And then I think in his pracky game, I don't know how he went last week, but the previous week he had like 2 goals 4 or something, and it was a pretty blustery day. So bring it on, get him in.
Yeah, get him in.
Yeah.
This is all we can hope for now.
It's a shame that Peter Wright's injured, but anyway, congratulations, Tommy. Going to be very hard missing those two. Having watched the Adelaide Crows dismantle St Kilda, and again, it was one of those things. It's like, are Adelaide really good, or is St Kilda really shit, or is it kind of both? Going to be very tough.
Well, just remember,
St
St Kilda smoked us last year, late in the year.
Yeah.
So we're in and around where they are.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh god.
I think Mert, often some of his takes are very, very one directional. But one I definitely agree with, or one that I guess concerns me that he mentioned the other day when he was on was he doesn't think Ridley's gonna be around for much longer because of his injury proneness. And he sort of was like, Ridley's cooked. Like, I just can't see him playing that much more footy. And it's kind of a scary thought because of how good he is and how key he is. But it's been a long time since he's played long, consistent chunks of a season.
Yeah.
And, he seems pretty brittle a lot at the moment. Like, that was obviously a fair, that the concussion was fair out of that. Yeah. It was, but like, yeah, I'm really worried about him, to be fair.
Because was it last year or 2 years ago where the Rioli one, where Rioli from Port got him? Was that last year or the year before?
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay. Well, that's a positive, at least it's far apart. But yeah, once, I don't know, as soon as any player has had multiple concussions, I'm immediately like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like, where's,
concussion, soft tissues, it's just kind of like,
oh, it's no good at all.
Well, my question then to you guys is, if Reid and Mackay are playing, maybe just put Ridley on the wing.
yeah.
Well, with Harrison Jones.
Yeah.
Not with Harrison Jones. Put Harrison Jones to half forward.
Well,
maybe Jonesy goes to half forwards and Edwards doesn't play.
Well, I was like, he obviously, there are times when he does like start more forward, but he drifts up because that's just the way that he plays.
But Dukes.
I thought he had our best Dukes of the night. I mean, I know Caddy had 4 contested marks, but I think he was taking like consistently. But when Langford went down, I like, part of me was like, surely you just get him a bit closer to goal. Get him a bit closer to goal. Like, he played there to begin with when he came to Essendon. He's got all the attributes for it.
I reckon he wants to play in the forward line as well. If he's a true forward, he wants to be banging goals.
Yeah.
And that we've all known Jonesy has got a little bit of X factor to him. Like, I remember that game that we played against Melbourne, or maybe it was St Kilda, and he did some wild stuff on the goal line. Like, he's got capacity. His goal, that little banana that he did over the weekend, he's clearly got an eye for goal, and typically he's winning a lot of the set shot kicking comps that they do at training. So it'll be interesting to see from a selection point of view if they do put him up forward this week.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was pretty effective, to be fair. Like, I thought he provided a pretty good outlet. I also thought that he moved the ball a lot quicker than he has in the past. He kind of got it and wanted to move it on quickly. And he was getting deep forward and he was kind of getting deep back. So he kind of played a pretty classic winger role. And, like trying to look for positives in this game. I think that persisting with Harry on the wing is a good thing. Now, obviously injury might mean that we have to shuffle that around, but all things considered, I liked his game there.
Oh yeah, no, so did I. It was merely just me going, all right, well, Langford's out. What can we do?
Yeah.
And he was the first name that came to mind. And like, if we're, I guess this is potentially the decision the coaches have to make this week. Is they go, all right, are we going to back a debutant against a pretty good looking Adelaide team?
Yes.
Or are we going to shuffle a guy who hasn't played there? Like, because there's no Peter Wright, there's no Kyle Langford. Unless we're going to swing Ben Mackay to full forward, I don't know.
Well, he's probably, and you know what? Just do it. I reckon. Put Ben up forward. Let's just give it a go. I mean, this is the one. It's funny you say that because I was thinking last weekend was the best opportunity to swing him up forward. He was doing absolutely nothing down back. Why have we not seen Ben be a swingman? His brother has been. Why not him?
Look.
He was drafted as a forward.
Is a terrible a handball turnover where he hands it directly to his opponent more hurting when it's our goal square or the other goal square?
Definitely the other goal square.
Yeah.
He's way safer up the other end.
Yeah,
him as far away from our goal as possible.
Yeah. But knowing how some teams transition, I'm sure it's going to get up there pretty quick. He's like, oh, James Sicily, here's the ball. Oh, shit. The goal already.
Certainly his speed. But he's not too slow, but, know.
Well,
let me ask you guys this. Now that we have, let's just say we end up playing a Reid and a Ridley. Because that's my best case scenario is 2 talls, is those 2.
I think it'll be 3. I think like it's annoying, but looking ahead to this weekend, that is more suited to the Adelaide team.
To the Adelaide.
Yeah.
Hawthorn, just because of who they have available, their 2 best key forwards aren't available.
Yeah.
Deer's not available, and Lewis isn't available, and Gunson's like borderline retired, if not still on the list. So I think that they're almost more of an anomaly in the competition. Whereas having the 3 talls, your fullback, your centre half back, and then whatever we classify Ridley as, That's what you want. And it's annoying this weekend because it means that someone might have to play a bit above their size, because what you assume that it's a Mackay to Thilthorpe, because he'll probably play deepest. Taylor Walker might not even be in the team. I don't know.
And then Reid to a Fogarty, probably.
Probably Fogarty.
But my question is, though, if you've got a fit Lav, are you playing Lav in the best 6 defenders? Because my answer to that is, yeah, I probably am. I think he's one of our best general contest work defenders. And if you can put him on a third forward, I think he'd do a pretty good job.
I mean, after some of the ways other people played on the weekend, I mean, you might not be wrong.
But you look again in our defence, Jackson Pryor drafted as a winger, playing in defence.
Was he?
Yeah.
Wow.
I hope so.
Let's go with it.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
Defender / winger. There you go.
Yeah.
Is that Jake Kelly? Oh, no, it's Jackson Pryor. Sorry. Easily confused.
But yeah, my question to you guys, do you have Lav in our starting 6?
I don't know if everyone's available.
Correct.
No, I'm still going with the setup that we went with, although I probably have Redmond still playing more off the back flank as well. And, I guess the idea is that Ridley can be utilised a lot more as a kicker, which kind of, went when he got injured. But, I think having Mackay as lockdown, having Reid, who can also kick, but also being a little bit more locked down is then...
When he actually kicks it and doesn't get holding the ball.
Yeah, that's just a timing thing. We've got so many more bigger issues than we do a bloke who's played 2 games in 2 years.
Well, we can bring Lewis Hayes in this week.
Yeah,
and I
Lewis
think
Hayes
Lewis Hayes was really good in the preseason. He's actually an out-and-out defender. You can tell Reid and him are defenders that were drafted as defenders because they actually throw their fist up and do genuine spoils where you hit the ball out of the middle and it flies 20 meters. Can't remember the last time I ever saw Ben Mackay do that.
Fly 5 meters past the
taking off the Tullamarine.
Boys, should we look at some goods?
Yes.
Why don't we go through our votes? So the Sash Fan Player of the Year Award, brought to you by Waxit Car Care. Find the best car care products at waxit.com.au. You can use the episode link for 10% off.
It's great wax.
I think we all probably know who's going to be most votes. But I guess it'll be interesting who gets the other votes. So should I do it in reverse and read 5 down to 1?
Yeah, that's the way.
All right, so 5 votes. No surprise, Jai Caldwell. 4 votes, Zach Merritt. 3 votes, Xavier Dersma. 2 votes, Sam Durham. And 1 vote, Isaac Kako.
Ooh, whose votes are these? Are these yours?
No, these are the fans.
Yeah,
these
the
are
fans.
punters.
They're wrong.
These are the punters. I mean, this is how
Isaac Kako was good, but he was not in the top 5 players on the ground.
for Essendon. I mean, I agree to you, but I think there's obviously just a bit of bias about the fact that it's his first game, but he kicked a sick goal.
And he did make us look more dynamic. I'll give him that. We looked a lot more dynamic in the forward line just from him buzzing around.
So much better.
Yeah.
He looks like an elite, Tipper at his best form with the way that he is around stoppage in the forward line. He's a menace.
That was awesome.
Yep.
No surprise with Caldwell, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Perkins is a bit stiff not to be in there.
Well, I'll read the rest of these out. I mean, I can give you the total vote numbers as well, but I'll go. So Nick Martin was 6. So he was 4 votes off Kako. He had 101 total. Kako had 105.
Nick Martin.
Draper had 72. Perkins 60.
Didn't like Nick Martin's game?
No.
I think it was one of his worst games he's had for the club. I think.
Well, he's got a pretty high bar there.
I know.
I mean, it's a bad game.
I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We expect the best of him. But I don't think it was one of his better ones. Gresh 56, Jones 48, Roberts 42, McGrath 38, Hobbs 14, Shield 10. Someone voted for Langford. Langford got 8 votes. Nick Bryan got 8 votes. Thought he deserved more. Caddy 7. Zach Reid got 6. Redmond 6. Ridley 2. And Elijah Sardis got 2 votes. So 2 people didn't get a vote. Jackson Pride did not get a single vote. And Mackay didn't get a single vote. So there you go.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Caldwell had 790 total.
Wow.
Merritt 491. Dersman 238.
Yep.
Durham 185.
Yeah.
So
Durham was sick.
Thank you to everyone who voted, and thank you for ChatGPT for adding that up for me, so I didn't have to spend all afternoon counting it myself.
So good.
Yeah. Now, you don't seem to have rated Draper's game, but I actually thought he did drop a few marks, but I actually thought it was probably one of his best efforts from being up and down the ground the whole game. Like right into the fourth quarter, he was affecting contests in the back half and then getting forward to like be a deep forward as well. So I feel like his fitness, you know, which we've spoken about, kind of showed his way through all four quarters. And that was kind of the thing that jumped out to me watching on TV. I was like, okay, like he's still going, you know, and that's been one of the things in the past where it's like he's so in and out of games and really drops off. But, you know, I was actually quite impressed with his effort to get back on the Will Day spoil. There was a mark he took in the last quarter as well, right back, and then kind of started a play and was in the forward line for the end of that play to try and take another mark. So, I think to me it was quite positive signs from Draper, if not a bit not polished.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like him and Nick Bryan still have a lot to go in terms of their sort of tandem efforts together. There was a play that I remember, whichever quarter we were going to the City end, and Draper was in the forward 50 and was like sort of calling, being like, yeah, I've got this. It's a throw in. And Brian, like, he like had pressed up and he was kind of like, he was almost within like handball range. He was like 20 meters away. And I was looking at being like, we're in our forward 50. Surely you go stand another 20, 30 meters back where the defenders are and you just, you know, do what bloody Gorney does for the Ds, or, you know, other good ruckmen go, all right, you know, the guy on the forward line's got it. Just go stand back there next to their full forward and centre half forward and just go, I'm just going to get a fist in. And he just kind of stood in no man's land. We ended up winning the clearance and having a shot, I think, I got behind. But I remember just sitting there watching him, like, someone needs to be calling him back. Like one of the defenders calling Brian back, or Brian kind of taking it upon himself, or even Draper being like, no, you go back. But he kind of just stood like around the 50 in no man's land. I was like, someone needs to sort this out. If we're going to play two ruckmans, like that's the advantage you get. So I'd be able to drop one back at times, and I know they weren't doing it.
I was giving him a hard time, jokingly. He did have a decent game. Can I just say that I just don't ever want to see Ben Hobbs play at half forward ever again.
Yeah.
He can't defend. His defensive positioning is awful. And you can see clearly the strategy. We rolled one up into contest for the first half, and that's why we got smashed on the outside, is because they had one spare just about everywhere around the ground as a result of us trying to win the contest, which we did win. And you can imagine selecting Hobbs it would have been a factor that helped us win the contest, because his contest work is fantastic. And, you know, in those stoppage situations, clearly, you know, he looks bigger, he gets the body on,
It was tough, yeah.
I'm still not convinced about his disposal. His disposal is pretty shonky at the best of times. And I just don't think he's fast enough. I don't think he applies enough pressure. I don't think he understands defensive positioning. He's not accountable to his man. There's a number of times, like I'm pretty sure it was either him or someone else playing on Impey, and Impey had 29 disposals and 13 or 14 inside 50s for the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inexcusable. We can't get sliced off the half back like that. And I just think there's other players that we have on our list that can play that role. He's a midfielder. If you're not playing him on ball, he's playing in the twos.
It's probably a pretty fair assessment. I'd be like, he should probably be a bit worried for his spot, I would say, this week coming. Although I feel like Scott might persist for a couple of weeks, but I think if it goes that way, it'll probably be the same. But I thought like Sardis is the other one. When you're looking at those two, it's like maybe it's between those two. There's one spot between two of them. I think Sardis kind of started. They both sort of came into themselves maybe as the game went on, but I feel like there was a few important contests that Sardis won in the last quarter, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's starting to build a little bit. So I feel like I'd probably lean towards Sardis out of those two at this stage.
He looked a bit shell-shocked in the first half, I reckon. Like, obviously, in their set of bouncers, and, you know, you've got Newcomb, and you've got Nash, and you've got these other guys there. And as great as he's looked in the pre-season, he looked a bit off the level, I think.
The big stage has gotten to him a few times, which is understandable as a young kid. I mean, he's played in some pretty big games, in front of some pretty big crowds, and he hasn't stepped up to the level. In the preseason games, there's not as much pressure. He was really effective. It's probably also worth mentioning that he had the least time on ground out of any player. And Gresham had more time on ground and he came in on at halftime.
Interesting. Yeah.
So he sat on the bench a lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, is that just them being like concerned that he's not putting in the effort, or is that like because like he looked very fit in the preseason?
Yeah.
So I'm a bit concerned about that. That almost says to me that like, oh, he's performing very badly. We can't afford to have him in there, and he can't play anywhere else.
Well, that's how it seemed. I mean, he didn't impact the contest at all in the first half. I don't know how many touches he had, but he was not impactful. He was getting pushed over. He was getting bullied by the Hawks players, which you'd expect, you know, the rivalry game, and he's only played a few games. It's really his first ever game that he's played on ball.
18 touches, 5 clearances. One of those was in the centre. He had 20 centre bounce attendances.
20? Wow, that's a lot, though.
Time on ground, 57%.
That is a lot.
There wouldn't have been many more than that.
Hobbs attended 3, so like I like to think they were giving him the opportunities to do it, but it and you know, this is a step up. Like preseason's good. You go up against some probably, you know, VFL level and a few guys who are not 100% at it yet. And he's looked awesome, but now this is the real thing.
But you look at 51% time on ground, and he had 18 disposals and
57. Yeah.
57. Yeah.
Gresham had 50%.
So that's pretty good, those stats. 57% time on ground. I mean,
you pay 100, you get 38 or 36. Sorry, yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. Fellas, what do you reckon? We take a break and we'll come back and listen to some hot takes.
That sounds fantastic.
Let's do it.
Welcome back, everybody. Part 2 of the show. I'm sponsored by Lemsip today as I battle through this little man flu that I'm dealing with.
Killing it.
I know.
It's the heart and soul we need.
Oh, it's the heart and soul. Heart and soul of the club. Time for some hot takes. Big old language warning, of course. Not for the faint-hearted, this one. Should we play the intro, fellas? Haven't heard this in a while. Let's play the intro. Here we go.
Thanks, Rob. It's that time of the week where we get some totally rational and well-adjusted opinions onto the pod. On the Sash, it's Hot Takes.
Hot Takes.
Oh, yeah.
Bam, 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 bam. Wasn't that nice? Thank you, as always, to everyone who sent them through. Apologies for those who didn't get played or won't get played. Just a hot advice, if you send one in that goes to like 5 minutes, even though the program will let you, I'm not going to play it because we don't have that much time.
Do you listen to it, though?
I'll listen to some of it, and then I'll eventually, depending on how long it is, I'll get to a point where I'm like, I don't need to listen to all of this. But yeah, I've been trying to figure out how I can set it to like 30 seconds or a minute, but it just won't let me. So anyway, but let's kick one off with this is Anus. So thanks, Anus. Just kick us off.
That was fucked. Bring back Herd. Bye.
That was the first one we got.
Funny Mert was on the show.
Yeah, that was Mert.
How good seeing Hurdy on Footy Classified. I love it.
Big vibe.
I really love it.
Big
Did
vibe.
you hear him last night? They were talking about the handball incident, and he said to Tom Morris, he's like, yeah, well, you know, at the end of the day, I've still got the sash in me through and through, so I'm going to see it that way. I'm like, yes, Hurdy, You're just doing your thing. Get back to the club.
Love it. This one's from Jack. Thank you, Jack.
Wish it again.
Straight to the point,
Still.
which we love. This one's from Pasquale Trulio, if I'm saying that right. Thanks, Pasquale.
Can someone please explain to me how we ended up playing on a wet field and Hawthorn were playing on a dry paddock? The amount of fucking times we slipped over at crucial periods was seriously ridiculous. You know what? I love Caldwell. Thank you so much. And go Dons.
Two things. First one, did you guys watch the F1 yesterday? Any of the F1?
I didn't.
Did you?
Yeah, they weren't wearing their long stops.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, clearly the Essendon boot starter also works for like half the Ferrari cars. Oscar Piastri could play for the Dons the way he was slipping around there. Secondly, though, I don't think we've given Jai Caldwell the props he deserves. We were kind of teeing off on a lot of things.
Yeah.
First half. That was a captain-like performance, I must say.
Yeah, it's weird that he's not in the leadership group, but that was awesome. He's just does not want to take a backward step. Like he he just couldn't not go at 100%, and he just cares so much, and he just wants to win every contest so badly. It's so awesome to see. You can see why he's been so highly rated throughout, and we're now getting that consistency in him, which is awesome.
So good. So good. And not to mention that he missed half of preseason. He's only really been training for the last 3 weeks.
Number 1 scorer on fantasy, actually.
Super coach
For
or
the
just-
round. Fantasy.
Okay, fantasy.
Oh, actually, speaking of, I had Scrimshaw and Ridley in my Super Coach draft. How bad is that? Oh, what a nightmare.
That's really funny.
Such a nightmare.
That's really funny. Coaches' votes, while we're talking about those real quick. So, Jai Colborne, 9 votes. Dylan Moore, 9 votes. Carl Amon, 6 votes. I think that's who you were confusing Impy with. It was Carl Amon.
Oh, yeah, it was Amon.
It was Amon. Tore us up.
Yeah.
Sicily, 2 votes. Conor McDonald, 2 votes. Zach Merritt, 1. Xavier Dersma, 1. So, interesting spread there with basically both coaches giving Caldwell and Moore 5 and 4 each. Mitchell said in his post-match or something that he said Caldwell was best on ground. So, I guess Brad Scott's just
piss off, Brad.
Brad's just handing out 5s to Dylan Moore, who, to be honest, was the match winner in my eyes.
Yeah, he was great.
Like, there's so much this is the last one about Hawthorn for a while, but there's so much chat on Watson and Ginnivan, but I think Dylan Moore's like the best of the 3.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
He's easily the best of the 3, and he seems like a good bloke compared to those 2.
He got the blazer.
Yeah.
He was the one that was there with Merritt when I went to the Sausage Sizzle on the weekend. It was Merritt and Moore, and I was just
So from kicking snags to serving up snags.
yeah, that's right.
Can you tell the listeners the full story? What happened, mate?
So I went out to Ringwood because I had to pick something up and needed some turf. So I just saw the Bunnings and I was like, I'll just stop into the Bunnings while they're here. They didn't have it, so I was like, might as well go get a snag while I'm here.
Hold on. You were wearing an Essendon hat going to Bunnings
No.
to buy manure.
He wasn't wearing an Essendon.
I didn't have an Essendon hat. No. This is on the Sunday. Or was it on Saturday? And so I go to get a snag, and there's all these players from the Ringwood Redbacks, I think they were called, just standing around. And the lady behind the counter is like, "Oh, you're here for a snag or the footy players?" And I'm looking around at the Ringwood Redbacks. I'm like, "Well, for a snag, obviously." And then she's like, "Oh no, there's Essendon players here." I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Look over there." And Zach Merritt was standing 2 meters from me. And I said to her, I was like, "Oh no way, I do an Essendon podcast." And then she goes, "Zach, this guy does an Essendon podcast."
Oh no.
And he's like, "Oh, hey mate." And I'm like, "Yeah, the Sash." And he's like, "Oh, yep, yeah, I know the Sash." So, but I couldn't tell whether he likes the Sash or he doesn't like the Sash.
Did he stab you as soon as you said it was?
Yeah, no, it was like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
You're that idiot.
But we had a good chat, and he was so filthy that we lost, which is kind of what you want to hear. He was so angry that we lost.
Good.
He was a great bloke. Shout out to Zach. He's the best.
I reckon that could be proper marketing campaign for the Dons is like Benny Mackay walking through the aisles of Bunnings and then he goes and picks up a bag of manure. And he goes like, "Ben, what do you need that for?" He's like, "Oh, we're just shit." And then puts it down.
We're shit.
Yeah, I mean, you might drop it on the way, but that's okay. This next one, this is still hot takes. This one's from Liam. Thank you, Liam.
G'day, guys. So I'm actually not that doom and gloom after that one. I thought the boys put out a really good effort, which is unusual for us. A few things went the wrong way, such as the umpiring, their scoring accuracy, and that silly bit of turf that they all kept them falling over on. But at the end of the day, the deciding factor was that Finn McGuinness did have a better tan than Jai Caldwell.
Oh, that is not true at all.
Oh, how dare you say that on Jai's best game?
Jai doesn't have any hair. That's why it looks so much better.
Yeah.
Finn McGuinness is like old man tan vibes.
I can't say I noticed Finn McGuinness a great deal that game.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Hawthorn players playing really well, and he wasn't one that really caught my eye.
He sounds like he would be a natural redhead, Finn McGuinness. So
Like,
that's a redheaded name. So I reckon if he's got it, then it must be completely fake. Whereas I feel like Caldwell, maybe there's some actual sun in there.
Well, it is St. Paddy's Day. I'm sure Finn McGuinness is celebrating somewhere. Let's you go. That was good. This is from Simo. Thank you, Simo.
All right, tempers have lowered. I think my hot take for the match is that we actually played okay, considering it was our first game, and the Hawks had a whole 1-game head start on us. I think if we didn't lose Ridley and Langford, I would be pretty happy with that game. but losing them for at least the next game or two is definitely going to hurt.
He's right. That's easily the worst thing that's come out of this game.
Yep.
Like,
Spot on.
if they weren't injured, we'd just go, oh, well, Hawks were better. They jumped us. That's the game. But we're losing Ridley guaranteed for 1 week and Langford for quite some time.
Yeah, I asked Merritt about Langford and he was like, yeah, not good.
Not
So,
good. Not good.
and Caddy, I don't know how sore Caddy's going to be as well. He copped a massive corky.
You know what is good though? That
Tell
new
me.
hat that you're wearing looks really
This
good.
is my favourite of them.
I
to be
really like
honest.
that one.
Yeah, and this would be the oldest for sure.
That's the skate.
Yeah, that was back in the day. This is old enough that it's got my name written on the inside because Mum had to brand it. Because I
Wow.
lost it.
That's if the viewers can envision it, it's got the mosquito hurling itself out of a blood splat. Like it's just sucked the life out of its victim.
cut to Joel while we're talking about this. Cut to Joel. Turn off the auto thing and cut to Joel. There we go.
Yeah, look at that. Magnificent. Is there any zoom features on there?
I don't know. Can we zoom on it?
Can you zoom?
I don't know.
Zoom on that Skeeto.
Zoom on the skate.
Yeah, we're trying to zoom on the skate.
Skate may not Skate may not be longer with us, so could be RIP Skate.
I don't like hearing Hawthorn be called as a mosquito fleet, actually, just now that I think about it. It seems weird that anyone apart from Essendon would be called that.
Yeah, they're the budgerigars or something. I don't know. This one's from Braden from South Australia, who it says here he's now.
Oh, hold on. There's the zoom.
Oh,
we were just
sorry.
getting some zoom going there.
Hold on, we're getting the
Oh,
zoom.
you were getting it going, Des.
It's just jumping back and forth between.
It was-
Oh, here we
there
go. There it
is.
is.
Look at that. Oh, wow. Beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Lovely. Braden from South Australia, who is telling us he's actually now moved to Seymour. So this is now Braden from Seymour.
Right, first hot take of the year. Let's start it off a little bit positive. I'm not going to start throwing players in the bin. It's game one, round one. You know, we got beaten by a relatively formidable opponent in Hawthorn. It kills me to say that, but we did. But I tell you who I will be throwing in the bin. The boot stutter. I don't even know if a boot stutter's a job anymore. If it is, throw him in the bin. If it's not, make it a job. Give some prick that job and throw that prick in the bin. How the hell could we be slipping over that much in that one game? Terrible. Also, who taught Sardis how to kick? He's not bad. Now fucking teach Draper. How hard is it? Every time he gets the ball, he looks like a 4-year-old that gets excited. Does my head in. Anyway, on to round two. Carry on.
There's a lot going on in the background of that clip. There was police sirens. There was a seagull at the end. Like, I don't know where you were,
Seymour.
Braden. Yeah, he's in Seymour. That's just the Seymour sound. Yeah, love that. Who we got? This is Wacko for Caco.
People are getting a little overreactive. Watching tonight, I think the difference was the 5 goals we gave them in the first quarter. That is the big benefit of them playing last week and us not. We were a bit slow starting. From there, we matched them for 3 quarters. So matching a top 2 side in our first hit out, not a bad effort. Keep our heads up, fans. I reckon we will go close to finals this year.
Ooh,
Love that.
And
Yeah,
he's already
good
claimed that
positivity.
Hawthorn's a top 2 side after 2 wins. That's huge by him.
I mean, on the ladder, I think they are a top 2 side. So.
But are they a top 2 side?
I think they're a top 4 side the way they're playing.
Yeah.
It's hard to disagree.
After 2 rounds.
I mean, like, who would you like? Who
After 2 rounds, you could say they are, but like it's bold to say that they're a top 2 side at this point in time.
I tipped them as a grand finalist on the pre-season review. So
Nice.
I think
Against the
I think-
Dons?
I think they are. Yeah, it's right against the Dons. 1985, 40-year anniversary.
Imagine
Let's go.
it actually
Yeah.
could happen because if they are a top 2 side, that would make us a top 4 side.
Yeah.
Loss.
Okay. Yes, that's the right theory.
Sure, sure. If that's the way
Wait,
we're
can
doing
you hear that?
it. What?
Choo choo.
No, it's
No,
back.
it's too early. It's too early for the train.
That reminds me that I haven't cut a new intro. There's a clip of you doing the trade, and I was trying to cut a new intro, and I've just been so busy.
Get it in. Get it in late in the season if we're on our way.
Yeah. No, I'll.
It's on its way.
Friend of the show, Rhyme Don't Pay, who made those fantastic songs last season. You might remember. He is helping me do a new intro,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
he's waiting on me to send the clips, but I just keep getting sidetracked with other stuff and I keep forgetting to do it.
Yeah.
And I've just remembered then that I should do it. So
Is that an apology?
that's an apology to the listeners, the supporters, the club. I've let you down.
My child.
Yep. My child.
We're
my
sorry.
family. We are sorry. Do not come. All right, this next one's from...
I'm going to come.
This next one's from Brigger. Thank you, Brigger.
Jake Kelly on a wing was one thing. Mason Redman on baller when he's never played there in his life is another thing. But it's okay, Bomber fans. We have Brad Scott till the end of 2027. The tactical genius. Fuck!
Brigger might also be Mert for all we know.
Mm.
Quarter time he messages our chat. He just said, extended Brad Scott 1 week.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, Mert. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. This one is Don is good? Maybe.
Free kick. Hawthorn.
There we go. But a few friends last couple of days, and I've even heard it in a few general footy podcasts, people just been like, oh, do you guys remember how we all used to hate Hawthorn? And now they're good again. And they're like all starting to come back around to that. And I'm like, yeah. Welcome.
Do you know what's even better is when people go, oh, you don't want to talk about the umpires. Like, well, go on then. Tell me about the umpires.
All these things happen and we didn't get free kicks the way we wanted to. Anyway, Epic Boss 1, 2, 3.
Was it just me, or did it just spontaneously start pouring down with rain every single time Essendon decided to touch the ball or start running? Also, an aside, I love my bronze beast giant called.
Naughty.
Yeah, we love that. Love that. Love that. Rory from Scotland. Thank you, Rory.
Well, boys, what are my thoughts? I was about ready to just ask them to trade everyone, start again from scratch on a 5-year plan after that first half, but luckily things picked up after the second. After having a bit of time to stew in it, I think we were just rusty. They'd already played a game, they looked far sharper. They're obviously a really good team that have improved even more over the off-season with the acquisitions they've made. But I was really pleased with how we kept fighting and kept getting close, just kept giving away stupid goals. That was the only thing. I think we kind of need to reserve judgment for a few games. Next week will be a good test against a team who, in Adelaide, who I think in Melbourne we should really be looking to beat, but we'll wait and see what happens there. Could be a tricky one with the injuries as well. Anyway, onwards and upwards.
Bit of Looney Tunes in the background.
Yeah,
got me.
That's good.
Good.
There's a kid's toy going on in the background there.
Good to hear from you, Rory. You weren't missing there in the last 3 or 4 rounds of the year, so glad that you're still a supporter of the Sash.
He's pretty active on the premium members Discord actually since he jumped on there. So another reason to become a premium member, people, is you can get on the Discord and talk a bit of Don's footy with Rory and many great people who are on there. It was like someone tagged me in something during the game, and then I went to go find on the game day thread, and there was like 1,000 comments to sift through. And I was like, I'm just not going to look at what I was tagged in. There's just too much going on. But it is pretty funny. Like quarter time of our first game, people are just like, "Oh, what's the draft this year like?" So yeah, I wrote that. Couple more to go. This is from Essendon, and I've written brackets here, not sober. So let's have a listen to that.
You're not far off, man. Fucking fuck. But no, we competed, but fuck me. Just give the Hawks a fucking flag if they're going to get calls like they did. We're alright. Langford's fucked. Ridley's fucked. Bring in fucking Tom fucking Edwards. He's going to kick 17 in 4 quarters. Can't blame.
I don't know where he's recorded that.
Yeah.
somewhere in Lower Templestowe in someone's garage, I think, by the sounds of things.
Popping off.
Yeah, it was popping off.
Popping off. All right, 3 to go. This one's from Anthony.
Hey team, long time listener, first time hot taker.
Welcome.
Geez, what do you say about last night? Happy about the fact that we fought it out to the end. Better structure in the second half. Real loose defending first half, and even times in the second half. Real loose defending. It's good to see that some things don't change. You know, Andy McGrath still gives me the fucking yips, whatever, if he's got the ball in hand. It looks like Jackson Pryor's doing his best to put his hand up to be the next Essendon whipping boy. A few of his defensive efforts and decision making last night was. But you know, what do you do? It's not the worst. It wasn't the worst game. I'm glad we fought it out, and I think it'll, like you guys will be right. It'll be. We're not going to go that far back, but we're certainly not going to go that far forward this year. Cheers, dudes.
Thoughts?
I really liked the little fart noise halfway through. You know, I'm pretty sure we fielded the youngest or least experienced list in the whole round on the weekend.
Really?
Yeah. And so, I heard that somewhere, so I hope it's true. But, you know, you kind of got to think that as well, right? Like, you know, they're getting to be a really good team, and we've just got a lot of players who are still finding their feet. And, you know, it makes the future without Langford really a bit harder. But, you know, I'm glad that a lot of the people sending in hot takes aren't all doom and gloom, you know, and there is a little bit of like, you know, we'll be right. This is all right. And wasn't as bad as, you know, it might have looked.
Yeah. Average age, Hawks 25 years, 6 months. Essendon 24 years, 7 months. Average games played, Hawks 97.3. Essendon 82.6.
That'll go down significantly with no Ridley and Langford next week. Both will be replaced by probably a Lewis Hayes, who will debut. Would that be a debut?
It would be a debut.
Could be 2 debutants.
Potentially.
Quite possibly. Yeah, like I sort of said in I'm not sure if you guys I did my little post-match reaction video, and that was just one of the things, like, we're in a position where there's 4 or 5 guys on the list who are purely in we need to just get games into them position. Reed, Kako, Caddy, Roberts, Sardis, that's just kind of where they're at.
Yeah.
Like, they've all got goods and bad things about them, but that's just where we're at in our cycle right now. So
80 games is not a lot as an average across 23 players.
No, not at all. Not at all. 2 to go. This one's from Saxon. Thank you, Saxon.
Sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone. And watching Jackson Pryor strut his stuff across the MCG on Friday night really made me miss Jake Kelly. And boy, fuck, isn't that an indictment up the plains?
Oh, God, that's a good hot take.
Come back, Jakey. Come back. I take back everything I said. I miss you.
Saxon potting Jackson. I don't mind
Saxon potting Jackson.
Saxon potting Jackson. There's a bit of that. Bit of that. Yeah. I hope it turns around for Jackson, because I feel bad that he's copping a lot of hate after one game.
Yeah.
It's pretty poor.
It looks like he got delisted for a reason.
Yeah. It's grim. It's grim. It's real grim.
Poor thing.
Fellas, should we go to our last hot take?
Yes.
Our last hot take. Some say this man spent the summer hibernating in a human-sized cocoon, ready for the football season. This is, of course, the lurker.
Oh.
I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been, hanging on the promises of flags of yesteryear. And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. Here I go again. Here I go again. Though I keep searching for success, I never seem to find what I'm looking for. Oh, Brad, I pray you give me strength to carry on. 'Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own.
There we go.
Dark.
The lurk.
Crawled back into his cave.
Yeah.
The groan off the top just got me.
That's great.
Yeah.
He's clearly been listening.
Great stuff. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to all those who sent them through. Sorry to everyone who did not get played. Hopefully next time you will. Now, what's on for the rest of the week, fellas? Tomorrow night, Jesse. Well, I think it'll probably come out on Wednesday, but tomorrow night you're chatting with Pete from the Project. Which should be a bit of fun. Pete's a funny bloke. Pete's a funny bloke. Two things you should ask him about. One, ask him about Jake Kelly. Two, ask him how he feels about Port Adelaide. Just let him go.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. And that'll get us through to 45 minutes.
That'll get you through to 45 minutes, I reckon. But no, yeah. Pete's a good bloke. I speak to Pete quite a bit. He's a funny cat. And then Jolie, I think you and I are going to do a mailbag tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, actually. A little bit more deeper analysis on the thoughts that are sent in than hot takes. Hot takes, we just kind of let them rip and have a comment here and there. But I think we'll try and unpack the questions that we get in. And, really keen to be doing something else as well for the pod.
Yep, that'll be fun. And then Thursday, for the premium members, is the premium preview match of the Adelaide Crows game.
Who have we got?
Who's even on the pod? Let's have a look.
Pretty sure I'm there.
Are you on twice this week?
I'm doing a three-peat this.
Are you doing a three-peat week, Jolie?
That's right.
Gee, that's gonna be good for the bank balance. 3 shows in a week.
Wow, you're gonna be rich.
Joel's buying dinner.
I'm back, guys.
Let's have a look.
Buy another hat.
I've got to fund all my multis.
I'm trying to find the roster on my computer, and I can't find the roster. So, Joel, I'm just going to take your word for it.
I'm there.
Okay, it is you. Oh, there it is, Sash roster. Sash roster, here we go.
At least I hope I am. I could have.
No, you are correct. Well, yeah. Because Murdy was meant to be in today, but he pulled out late.
What a surprise. Coward.
He's off overseas for a couple of weeks, and Ryan's just had a baby, so it's going to be it's going to be the Jesse, Joel, and James
Which
show
Ryan?
Ryan Withers, he's just
really?
he had a baby last Tuesday, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He came in, did the pod, and was like, "Yep, I'm having a baby tomorrow." So I was like, "Good on you! Your last night of not being a parent, and you're like, I'm going to hang out with these losers and talk about Essendon."
Wow.
I actually would love to be a baby born right now, because I could put all the torture behind me and know that the next 20 years as an Essendon supporter could show just a little bit more hope.
I just know that I'm going to be having chats with my kid in 15 years. He's like, "What do you mean, Dad? So great being an Essendon supporter." I'm like, "You don't know the shit we went through, you little fuck."
Actually, you do listen to all of our podcasts. Here's a free lesson for you.
I'm going to lock you in this room and you'll listen to every episode. And when you're done, you can come out.
This is what Daddy did for his life.
Yeah.
Grimace.
Why is Daddy so upset all the time? Anyway, fellas, good stuff. Listeners, viewers, thank you very much for your support. If you want to support the show even further, you can become a Sash Premium member. It's $5 a month or $42 for the year. You get an extra show every single week, which is the premium preview show, of course. You also get an ad-free experience. So if you don't like hearing us sell stuff, you can do that as well. But of course, it just helps us keep the show alive, pay for studios, pay for rent, pay for editing and all that other stuff that we do.
Joel's hats.
Pays for Joel's hats and his multis, which is important.
Yeah, can we just get another zoom in on the hat situation right now? I think we've somehow got all of them on the one head now.
No, this is what my membership's paid for, because my memberships clearly haven't paid for anything else. They haven't paid for on-field success.
Paid for hats.
So that pack at the start of the year is the most important thing that arrives. Based on this.
Just collectively, how many hats are on the head right now?
3 hats, 1 beanie.
3 hats, 1 beanie.
Yeah,
I've seen that video.
2 beanies or 1 beanie?
Just none beanies.
Yeah. Anyway, fellas, good stuff. Everyone have a great week. Look after yourself. Up the plains.
The Blades.